power of scientific ideas, analysis of data, breakthroughs, understanding nature, and the study of human needs. Here, the ideas of the East are supported by Western technology. Here, collaboration between the greatest minds creates new solutions. Here, each discovery makes our lives easier and our environment cleaner and safer. The International Science and Technology Center is a platform for scientific collaboration and the promotion of science. This film will show the results of ISTC's work in Dushanbe, the capital of Tajikistan. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, when the Iron Curtain was drawn back, scholars in post-Soviet countries became free. However, at the same time, investment into science collapsed. Tajikistan, with its great scientific potential, was one of these countries. Saving science in the new reality became a critical mission for the Tajik people. During the Soviet period, Tajikistan's budget was subsidized. Up to 60% of the republic's income was provided by Moscow. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, Tajikistan suffered a devastating civil war between 1992 and 1997. 5 years of the internal conflict had a major impact on Tajik society. As a result of these two catastrophic events, Tajikistan became the poorest country in Central Asia. There was no way to do science in these economic conditions. The International Science and Technology Center began to finance Tajik's scientific projects and provide support to scientists in 2003.
The development of science is recognized as a national priority in Tajikistan. However, like most post-Soviet countries, we were going through hard times, and any financial help was critical for us. The first project funded by ISTC was about radiation contamination of transborder rivers in Central Asia. This topic is still a question of vital importance for Tajikistan, as water is the main resource here. We highly appreciate the project selection by ISTC and the funds which grow each year. With the Soviet Union's collapse, funding from Moscow was discontinued, as were collaborations with other scientific institutes around the former Soviet Union. Most scientists and trained personnel left Tajikistan for Russia and other republics, leaving both a funding and an expertise shortage. The ISTC has since funded many projects and institutes in Tajikistan to keep scientists well employed and to improve scientific achievements. Currently, more than 2,000 employees are working in the Academy of Sciences, including 35 full members and 43 corresponding members, 190 doctors, and 360 candidates, with 18 foreign members. After the Soviet Union collapsed, we were vitally bankrupt. We had no equipment, no laboratories, and most specialists were leaving science. Since ISTC started working in Tajikistan, the situation changed for the better. We received funding for our projects, and scientists could resume work. Over the past 10 years, more than 3,000 articles and research works in various journals were published. These included articles published in journals from the US, Europe, India, Iran, and the CIS, indicating the recognition shown to the results achieved by Tajik scientists. Tajik scientists started traveling to international seminars, conferences, symposiums with the financial support of the ISTC. More than 300 Tajik scientists and specialists were sent abroad for this purpose, for which over $600,000 were allocated, including more than $400,000 allocated specifically for foreign trips by scientists and specialists from the Republic of Tajikistan.
Even before the fall of the Soviet Union, Tajikistan was losing its most qualified scientists. But when the Iron Curtain collapsed, the leak turned into a flood. Now the country that prided itself on scientific prowess is facing another wave of emigration, one that some warn might be a death blow to the scientific research and education in Tajikistan. Regardless, Tajik graduate students weren't keen on science. There was no room for growth and no financial incentives. The ISTC hasn't managed to reverse this trend entirely, but has had a positive impact. More and more young people are getting involved in scientific projects. Usually, they start by doing an academic degree and then decide to work full-time in scientific organizations.
Science in Tajikistan sank into oblivion for a while. Lack of funding and the lowest average wages among all sectors led to a brain drain. There was no money to even cover the basic research needs. Scientists had to use individual survival strategies, while institutes had to look for additional opportunities to cover their budget deficits. Most young working people who had the opportunity to work abroad left Tajikistan. Despite the serious problems encountered in Tajikistan, the efforts of governments and international organizations such as ISTC managed to keep a large portion of scientific potential, and the Academy of Sciences remains a priceless asset in Tajikistan. Tajik science, which survived with great losses following the collapse of the Soviet Union, the period of civil war and systematic underfunding, is slowly being revived. Nowadays, Tajik scientists, young and experienced, have the opportunity to travel, publish their papers, carry out experiments in fully equipped laboratories, and work in collaboration with scientists from around the world. These opportunities engage young people to work in institutes and keep Tajik science alive. Science must be made more competitive. It should reward young scientists who have international expertise and enable them to lead research teams. It should encourage flexibility in employment and contracts for academy researchers, as well as identifying strategies and research areas to optimize scientific development. In Tajikistan, we tend to place more responsibility on young scientists. They are keen to join projects and manage processes and teams.
Despite her young age, Surayo Usmanova is already candidate of chemical sciences. She calls science her life mission. Currently, Surayo and her team are investigating the biological activity of carbohydrates individually and in combination with polyphenols. In other words, they try to develop methods for the extraction of biological active compounds from fruit pomace, such as apricot, apple, and peach, grapes, cake, sugar in desert ephemeroid plants, and its structure-functional relationship.
The project is important for the creation of the functional food. Data from numerous epidemiological studies have suggested that fruit and vegetable-enriched diets are associated with reduced risk of many gastrointestinal, coronary heart diseases, and cancer. Much interest has focused on the identification of protective nutrients and phytochemicals in plants. Furthermore, the dried fruits have been used in Tajik herbal medicines for the treatment of chronic heart diseases and hypertension. The pharmacologically active polysaccharides in fruit mainly have the nature of pectic polysaccharides, which are maybe grouped into pectin, pectic polysaccharides.
Oligosaccharides are basically food products with interesting nutritional properties. They may be naturally present in food, mostly in fruits, vegetables or grain, or produced by biosynthesis from natural sugars or polysaccharides and added to food products because of their nutritional properties or organoleptic characteristics. They also are found free in our combined forms in all living organisms. As a result of research collaboration, we observed a new resource of oligosaccharides and polyphenols in plant cell wall material. Recent data during pectin extraction research in our laboratory demonstrated a wide variety of sources for oligosaccharides and polyphenols from different fruit pomaces. We applied a new method for pectin extraction in the autoclave to allow a high yield of both pectic polysaccharides and oligosaccharides from fruit waste.
Many of the challenges that science faces today, for instance, climate change, food and energy security, and the spread of infectious disease, are global in nature and require a global response. These factors make international collaboration in science more important than ever. The need to reach across national boundaries places greater demands on scientists. As scientists become more specialized as they proceed through their studies, broadening and collaborative experiences make them better able to think differently and connect the dots to discover new things. Ultimately, it leads to better science.
The important aspect of working with ISTC is its regional scope. This enables the implementation of large-scale projects with a relatively high success rate. The budget is relatively big and allows for the purchase of modern equipment and all necessary materials. Moreover, projects require international partnership, creating a collaborative environment between researchers from the CIS and the renowned scientific groups worldwide. Our partners from previous projects became our most valuable collaborators, and we continue this mutually beneficial cooperation even after projects are completed. The agreements between ISTC and government agencies in our country assist with logistics and taxation issues and ensure the access to the most modern experimental tools and supplies. Finally, ISTC dedicates significant efforts to the internalization of the research by providing travel opportunities and organizing conferences and workshops. The Tajik branch office is trying its best to make project implementation smooth. Over 300 Tajik scientists traveled to other countries to attend scientific conferences, symposia, seminars, forums, lectures, and joint research work with scientists from other countries. More than 200 scientists are working together on scientific work with foreign colleagues. ISTC supports wide international links with research centers in countries near and far.
One of the biggest global challenge is the development of the renewable energy resources. Collaboration within ISTC stimulates the sharing of scientific knowledge and best practices in energy policy, supports pilot initiatives, and helps with academic assistance when necessary. Tajikistan has great potential for the development of renewable energy resources. Scientists from France, China, and Portugal, and scientific organizations such as NASA have become collaborators in such projects.
Tajikistan's estimated solar potential is about 25 billion kilowatt-hour per year. There are about 2,100 to 3,000 hours of solar energy per year. However, this potential has not yet been exploited. Tajikistan also has good conditions for generation of wind and large geothermal water reserves. To study and find the best way to develop renewable energy resources, we established an integrated power plant in Romet Korch Center. It's a demonstration and educational center with solar batteries and wind power generators installed. It also has a weather station to forecast weather and the generation of power for several months ahead. We have reached an agreement with our Chinese partners, and we are currently working in this area with our European colleagues. Our center is the participant of the International Cooperation Network for Central Asian Countries Consortium, which is the project of the European Union for cooperation with Central Asia's nations. Our European colleagues have good experience in using various sources of renewable energy.
Many developments have found practical application in key sectors of the economy. In recent years, scientific institutions of the Academy of Sciences have received more than 200 patents for inventions in the Republic of Tajikistan. However, very few Tajik investors show interest in these scientific results. After the end of the Soviet Union, electricity subsidies were terminated, and the following energy demand gap was predominantly filled by local biomass resources, such as coal and wood, resulting in increased deforestation and pollution. In certain areas, the average electricity available amounts to less than 4 hours a day during winter. Therefore, using hydropower will help solve this local problem and also has great commercial potential.
Tajikistan has enormous hydropower potential as it possesses 4% of the world's hydropower resources and 53% of Central Asia's resources. These resources are yet to be sufficiently developed. About 94% of electric generating capacity is hydroelectric, but only an estimated 5% of its potential is in use. The country faces an energy deficit, resulting in regular blackouts from October to April.
However, Tajikistan's rivers have great hydropower potential, and thus the government has focused on attracting investments for projects for internal use and electricity exports.
The purpose of our project is to develop the basics of hydrogen production by the electrolysis of water. Simply put, using the energy of idle discharge of water from the reservoirs to produce hydrogen, its conservation and use in the most scarce energy period. Such an approach will create the prospect for the development of green energy and will provide the potential for energy exports in the future.
ISTC has become part of life for Tajik scientists. Every day they come to work and try to find new solutions, new ways of thinking to move science forward at least one small step. It is how it should be and how it is.